It says it. I'm live. So, hi guys, it's me. It's Alan. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but the lighting on this thing is still a little funny. Let's see which I had to do this yesterday too. Got my targeted individual. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work. It's a little bit too much, I think. Maybe this will work better. My cookies might be better. Anyway, hi guys, it's Alan. I got my V2K targeted individuals shirt. It says individuals. It's more or less, it's not that, I figure with Beavis and Butthead, at least it opens the door for a conversation. I loved him when I was a young man. It just opens the door for a conversation on target individuals and Havana syndrome. To open the door to let people to know what is going on, what our government's doing to us. I remember one time going in Salem, Oregon. I was invited to go to jury duty, and so there was about a room of about 100 people at the Salem courthouse and potential juries. And then it was time after listening for about 3 or 4 hours of the preparation of who's going to be in the jury, who's not. And then people can stand up. And so I stood up after about 5 other people. And it's like, yeah, I can't be part of, because they want to know if you have a prejudice for this or for the defense or for the prosecution. And what do you think about law enforcement and all this? And so I figured that was a way to just, I didn't really want to be part of it, but I just had to be honest and said, well, that's what I said. There's probably 100 people. There's probably about 6 or 7 lawyers and a judge. And I sat there and I stood up for that and said, you know what? I normally have always been a person who liked and respected, always have, law enforcement, everybody, actually, anybody who didn't matter. And people were, for the most part, even in Dallas and say just anywhere, were pretty nice to me, I thought. I always had my pains constantly for 30 some odd years, but I didn't know what caused it. I didn't know. Anyway, it wasn't until 2014, 2015, and then the rally, and then the stuff on the internet and Myron May, and it's like, oh shit, the thing that I have waited for every day, every hour, somebody tell me what my side thing is. What is it? Why do what's the pain thing? Why? And then to find out that it was done to me on purpose by people in my own town. I didn't have any enemies either. I never had any enemies, except I didn't like my brother. But no enemies, no reason for them to dislike me or hate me or to punish me or torture me. They just wanted money, and they had gotten money from whether hospitals or NIH or CDC, just government money for it, we now know. And the realization that you're just their guinea pig, and they literally set you up for like the purge, set you up for slaughter, even when you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't hurt anybody, literally, in your whole life. If you've never knowingly and intentionally, I can think of things where mistakes or something, but I literally knowingly never did something that I thought would knowingly hurt somebody, I stuck to a lot of books. I read a lot of books on apologetics and theology, and after work, I'd go home and have a few cigarettes and a couple beers and just relax and unwind, stayed home. And I didn't get into a bunch of trouble. But they still fucked with me in this way. And even though now that I was talking about the courtroom and jury duty. So I stood up and, is there a reason why people shouldn't be on a jury? And I simply said, yeah, I just pretty much said what I said there. And I just said, this is when Havana syndrome was in the news. And I said, well, Havana syndrome, that's been on the news, Havana syndrome, and it's a lot of people, 100 people, 80 to 100 people. they said 115 or something like that. 100 people, including lawyers, the person on trial, the judges. And I just simply said, well, Havana syndrome's in the news. That's been happening to the FBI. That's been in the news a lot. But when it happens to regular people, this has been going on to regular people, and we're called target individuals. And I am one of them. And I'm a target individual. And when it happens to this torture, microwave radiation pulse happens to those important people, the FBI, CIA, then it's all over the news. But if it happens to regular people, just citizens, then we don't get that much coverage because we're just regular people. We're called targeted individuals. And little towns or big cities, they're small governments, or even big cities. They're big, city halls. They get government grant money to try out this technology on people in the hopes that nobody will miss them or it'll never get found out. The person will die from the torture, the radiation experience, exposure, or through just killing themselves because of the constant negative barragement, or get locked up, because once people start saying out loud to a counselor, a doctor, but the thing is, a lot of this is set out there to get you to not say anything, because it might be written in the scripts, don't say this to doctors, because they don't want this out there to doctors. But if it gets to be so known, like Havana syndrome, it does blow me away that this was this fucking light. I know that they do electronic harassment. I'm sorry for the F word there, but they do this to people, and it's just like, anyway, so in the courtroom, I was saying, I'm one of those target individuals. They actually do this to people. And there's tons of lawyers there, it's like 5 or 6, 3 on each side, and then a judge right there. And I said, well, we're looking for lawyers that would help us. But, it's like some of us, I know I've left a couple message for the ACLU. But then again, I don't know if the Fusion Center allows it to go through or something like that. And I called one lawyer, and then I think it got spliced to a different person pretending to be a lawyer, because then the lawyer answered my call and asked me just questions that were inappropriate. That had nothing to do with, So they do monitor and change it, like the NSA. And again, there was no reason for it. I think I might have watched a couple videos, like some Tucker Carlson thing about the NSA. One thing on PBS Frontline about the United States of Secrets. I'd bought that because I thought it was interesting. It was in the news a lot with Snowden. And so I had bought that, which I normally don't buy those things. But I thought that was such an interesting, subject, that they're spying on people. But literally, they can spy on me all day and find something, like my mom would say whenever I tell her this. It's like, well, they're just going to be bored. If they look at my life, they're going to see a person who's been, it's like the judgment seat of Christ. It's like, well, I'm boring. I try to have a sense of humor sometimes, but I tried to do, nobody likes somebody patting themselves on the back. I understand that, but in a quiet way, I tried to be nice to people, and I thought people were pretty nice for the most part to me. I just knew I had the chronic pain. And I didn't know that it was done on purpose for 30 years. I didn't know whether it's done for life insurance. Look at that. That's my shirt. I don't know if you can read it. It says Dead Peasants Life Insurance. That's what I got it to say. Dead Peasants Life. It says on the bottom, life insurance. But anyway. Hi, Katie. God bless Myron May is right. It's, he was such a great guy as far as in New Mexico, where he practiced. He was well liked. The weird shit started, and he was like an assistant district attorney in the town where he's from in New Mexico. And they did this to him there. I mean, he was an attorney. And then he went to Florida, and that's where he graduated some years before. He sent off those, 7 or 8 packages. There's some controversy as far as some of the legitimacy of some of those mailings, whether if they were correct or whether some of them were fake. Just because of some of the return address on some of them looks like they were mailed just from the recipients near it. It was something like that, but some of them were real. So the FBI intervened. But again, as we know, when the FBI is involved, they change the scenario so quickly to where it's like Oklahoma City. It was the big truck bomb, but people the day before were saying, no, there was 2 or 3. There was bomb disposals that had to go in there and remove 2 bombs that didn't go off. But nobody remembers that. It's like 9/11. They remember the 2 towers falling down, but they don't remember Building 7. And even the 9/11 official report, that big book, I don't think it mentions Building 7 at all. It's just the 2 fell down and terrorists, Saudi Arabia. Well, no, they took 28 pages out because they didn't want to hurt Saudi Arabia's feelings. And in fact, America went and helped Saudi Arabia in their genocide against Yemen. So anyway, it's confusing bedfellows there. So anyway, hi, Katie. Maybe one day he will receive his honor amongst the masses. I hope so, because him and, Aaron Alexis, the thing is, on one hand, you are very thankful that they went and did something that was to bring attention to this. I mean, huge. They were willing, like Robert Duncan was saying, to sacrifice some, but he's also like, don't do something that kills people or violent, because you'll get in the news. But with all these shootings, it's going to be, within 3 or 4 days, they may not talk about it. It's like this. There was a shooting yesterday in Allen, Texas, which is near Dallas. So it's like, Allen, that's my name, my first name, and I used to live in Dallas, Oregon. Now, as a person in TI, you can play mind games, and you can have some OCD scrupulosity with religious leanings. It's like a person praying for football. It's like if somebody at kicking a field goal and they pray and the person misses or makes the field goal, and it's like, it's because I did this, it's because I prayed for this, or I didn't pray the right way and that's why they missed. So it's a bit of magical thinking or feeling that enters in. But the thing is, the people that are to blame for this are the criminals that do this, whether it's the gunman or the gunwoman. And for those behind this technology torture that sends these, gang stalking and this torture, like Havana syndrome, it's our government officials that hire people to dole this out. So, that was a great way to get us on record, Alan. I think you did an amazing thing with that. Oh, thank you. I got it on my playlist. Some of the things like about Myra May. I don't know if the Fusion Center allows it to go, because I put a ton of videos, but it's not the first. It's on the playlist and says created all playlists or created playlists. And then suddenly all my stuff shows up. I'm not a computer geek to where I can understand how to fix it. So anyway, so did the jury selection dismiss you? Yes, they did, thankfully, because I just didn't want to be there. And I would have had to take it would have been hard for me to concentrate knowing I would be thinking about this the whole time. So it wouldn't have been fair to, I never had a negative thing towards police ever. I knew that some of them were racist. I knew some of them everybody's got people that at different times in their life that can be racist, judgment. I mean, even me, myself, when I was a kid, I'm certain that I made every joke about everything under the sun, that if it was a 20/20 camera on me, I would look horrible, just for jokes, but I never treated anybody bad. But if a camera was on me making a joke or my private thoughts that are out there for people to see, I'm kind of a little bit used to it now. Whether it's one person that sees it, or a bunch of handlers, or if they give it out to senators and congressmen and they see me having a memory of, looking at a Playboy or something. I was just, I mean, you get kind of, all right, well, okay, whoop-de-doo. Hi, Herbert. I don't agree with the mass shooting. Right. I think if he were to go after somebody, he should have gone after the Air Force or DARPA and done it there. Yes, everybody understands that one. Because you don't, like I was about to say with Myron May, we understand that, but a teenager got paralyzed. I think one probably died, and what teenagers now, who has nothing to do with this program, became paralyzed his whole life. So we understand getting the word, but we don't want to hurt people, especially innocent people that have nothing to do with this. And that poor teenager is going to forever be paralyzed. So it's like, so I agree with you 100%. They're paying for this territory, so he should have gone there, not a school. Exactly. And I think the thing is like with those places in DARPA, we understand that mentality. We don't encourage somebody to go out there. It's like that Nashville shooter lady. They have a manifesto, but they still don't want to release it. The FBI doesn't want to, and they keep on using, whenever there's these shootings, they say there's whether people in the school were targeted. They use that term, wink, wink, like it's making fun. No, it could have been that her manifesto talks about targeted individuals, like that James, I forgot his name, but the guy in the theater who did the shootings, he was a genius, one of the highest, just a great intellect. He was in college. He just out of the blue for no reason left college. Everyone's like surprised, like why? And then he did that. But then they voices and hearing voices and all that kind of stuff. And you wonder how many of these poor souls, it'll be always called a mental illness. But how much of this is actually the stuff is targeted individuals that are, going through V2K and Voice to Skull. They're just guinea pigs, and they just use random people, even lawyers like Myron May. And they get in the news. I guess they view it as self-sacrificing in a kind way, but we don't want to obviously go after anybody in a way, because there could be innocent people. But we just want it to stop. That's all we want. That's it. We even gone to the bioethics thing. A lot of TIs have gone to the bioethics in Washington, D.C. and New York, the White House bioethics, made our complaint. And within 3 years of those complaints, suddenly Havana syndrome's all over the news. The FBI is getting hit. Oh, no, it must be the Chinese. It's Cuba, Havana syndrome. It's those Cubans. They're doing it. They're the highest in technology. They're the ones that can make this mysterious high-tech stuff. The Cubans, with those amazing cars. It's a joke. But then it's Russia, then it's Chinese. And it's like, okay, the CIA guy, William Burns, was like, okay, we now know, after 5 years, we now know it's not a foreign adversary. Whoops, caught. Got caught. It's not, they probably got bitched at and complained. It's like, quit blaming us. It's you guys. We know it's you guys. You're doing it to your own people, and you're trying to blame it on us. Ta-da! So, but I agree with you, Herbert. We don't want that. It's like, you just kind of wish somebody in the NSA would have a meltdown and just decide to bomb the NSA or something. You don't obviously wish for people in NSA to just be, well, there's a part of me kind of wishes it, because we know what they're doing to us, but, we just want it to stop. That's all we want. We don't want people to, but if they're not going to stop, and we try everything to try, hey, stop it, make videos, freedom for, PAX International, Target Justice, they go to courts, they make, and we make videos, but how many of our videos get out there? How many is actually covered up by Facebook? How many of it is just gone to the Fusion Center and not to see much of the light of day? I don't know. I admit I don't know. They're paying for this torture, so he should have gone there, not a school. I agree. That's what it comes down to. That's okay. I know it's a very touchy subject. It is, because it's like, I think Catherine Horton got in some trouble with that, and they had that crime fighters thing, and people started squabbling in that. And then who's promoting violence, who's not promoting violence. It's just people get mad and say, I just wish those people would die or something. And it's like, they're not literally, they just want it to stop. We want them to stop torturing us. We would like them first, stop it. That's it. Stop it. And then find some accountability. Yes, they did it. And then destroy the technology. And for give us the money funds to help, that we can get the medical help that we have needed for the last, for some of us 30 years, for some 20, 10. I mean, these are years, not weeks or months. These are years, a year, 5 years dealing with this. Havana syndrome, directed energy weapons. The only thing is there's so many of us out there that are being experimented on. They had to invent Havana syndrome. They had to invent it and try to blame it on another country. It's such an embarrassment that our senators and congressmen and state reps and our city halls and doctors, a lot of them claiming to be devout, whatever, religious, and drain the swamp, but they took the money and they're doing it anyway. It's going to be hugely embarrassing. Their face is going to be so red. I try to make light of it, but they deserve massive payback. Prison. I mean, they just do. I mean, it's kind of like this pandemic. If a president told me or my boss told me don't do something, and I say, okay, and I do it anyway and cause the death of not one person, but millions, and then make the vaccine that I would then prosper off and make millions off that, something that I caused in the first place, after being told not to do it, I don't think I'd be in line to get a Nobel Prize for unleashing a virus or a sickness that I created after being told not to do it. And then, but I'm going to save the day by creating a virus and get rich off it at the same time. But that's America now. That's the level, and around the world, because around the world's more than happy to take that money. Except now I think those countries are getting pretty pissed off. I notice there's peace agreements with China. There's, other countries are they're just tired of, it's not to sound unpatriotic, but what's to be, when you have this done to you and you haven't hurt anybody your whole life, or even if you have, just everybody makes mistakes, but nobody fucking deserves this. Nobody does. Maybe serial killers do, but they do this stuff. It's like they experiment even on babies at the NIH. They did that support thing with the premature babies and things like that by playing with their oxygen, not telling the parents. The support study, if you look it up. Anyway, I'll tell you one thing. There's a book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, by Rabbi Harold Kushner. He had a chapter in there, and he's saying, people can handle it. It's difficult when you have bad things, but when you don't know why, it makes it so, like what the illness is or disease. But when you know what it is, what it's called, or how to fix it, then it helps. Then it helps to know you have a name for it. But when you realize for TIs, if it's 5 years or 10 years or 15 or 20 years or 25 or 30 every day, why a headache? Why do I have this pain? Why, for me, why side pain? Why a constant thing to where you can't feel the normal emotional, because it hits you in the heart. And then to finally, after 30 years, thankfully have an answer for what it was for all those years. I'm so thankful to finally have that answer. Even though I sound negative, I'm so thankful for Dr. Matt and Ella and me and just those people that had that. So now I know what it is. It gives me an answer, and I'm thankful for those people for letting me know. And people have written books, and people have written or done videos, And I look at the people, and I look at their hypocrisy, and they can do all their, I studied to be a minister myself, so it's not a thing against religious faith, obviously. It's just, but of some of these people that I lived my life around thinking that they were good, and the whole time they were part of the torture group and getting money off it. So fuck them. Their religion, their politics, whatever they say, it means nothing. Nothing. They means nothing. I'd sooner get moral advice from Ted Bundy because it means about the same, because they're both murderers. One does it instantaneous, the other one does it through slow kill process and high technology. And they cloak it up in religion like they're trying to do a spiritual thing to humble somebody who's already humble, who's already, you know what I mean. If you're in the program and you've been part of it for years and read some books on it, you know what they're going through. Anyway, I go off on my little tangents there. So anyway, you like my shirt? Let's see, V2K. That way, if I ever get arrested, they'll have to, for anything, which I don't try to do. I'm not trying to do that. But it's just, they'll have to look at my shirt. And people are like, what's your shirt about? So, anyway, I'm sorry. It's like Herbert, I appreciate that statement. That's okay. It's a tough, touchy subject when it comes to, you just want it to stop. That's what it is. Let the guilty reap what they sow, not the innocent. The good thing is that he didn't kill anybody. I think you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe Myron May didn't. Anyway, Aaron Alexis, again, the whole thing was to bring attention to this. He wrote ELF weapon, extremely low frequency. James Holmes. Yes. Thank you, Katie. Yes. James Holmes. He was brilliant, college, top of his game, his class, and just had to withdraw. And then suddenly, I think it was on Lookout for Charlie, he did a video showing that on the inside of his house, he had booby trapped it, and there was flour on the floor of his house. He had booby trapped it with little, I don't know, explosives or things, and put flour on the floor. That way, if somebody was to come in during the day or the night, they would leave footprints, and he could tell if somebody was in there. But when he did his little shooting at the theater, the little shooting I call it, I don't know why I call it that. He told the police, watch out when you go in my house because there's bombs and explosives and I don't want you to get hurt. Now, the thing is, why would he tell those people, watch out, why would he warn them? Because he probably didn't know the police were involved in it. He just knew, or from his viewpoint, people were breaking in his house, and on the front of his door, it said, no, big letters and thing, no entrance, stay out, or something like that, warning people, keep away. And because probably Lookout for Charlie was saying maybe that's what, somebody was coming in today, coming in, and he didn't know who, but he didn't want the police to go in there and get blown up because he maybe didn't know some of them might have been involved, or maybe he was trying to protect them. Again, it's one of those things, it's like, just because some police, it doesn't mean you have to hate all police or some sheriffs or some doctors, or some nurses or some people not. It doesn't mean everybody in the hospital's, bad or in on it. So, but it's hard. It's like neighbors or people on the street, who's gang stalking, who's acting weird, and who's just weird, So, yeah, pets too. I have that. My cat just does that once in a while, just out of the blue, kind of vomits. And, I don't like to think, just because it happens, and I don't want to. Anyway, it's a strange, when you're part of this scenario, it is very strange. Now, for me, what I wanted to talk about also is a lot of this is bringing, that damn light. I keep on having to do that, but it's getting a little warm here. But I think that with this, a lot of the religious scripts, sorry about that. A lot of the religious scripts Project Soul Catcher. I think it's 140. He has this and How to Tame a Demon. He's got a lot on there on religious scripts. And I know for me, I had studied Christian theology, apologetics. It was my major in college. And of course, when you're, 13, 14, you don't think you're being experimented on. You just think that you, like a lot of other people, are trying to know God and try to know the Lord and try to know God, try to do the right thing. Normally, and just try to do what your religion teaches and have a relationship with God, But the thing is, some of these scripts that they run on, for me, my side pain, I couldn't explain what it was. I did know about Havana syndrome, of course, in 1987. I just kind of figured it was the stress of studying all this stuff and reading apologetics and having questions and doubts about doctrine and faith. And so I spent years studying the existence of God, the existence of the soul, proving the soul from free will. It's fun. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of things about even Dr. Duncan, free will's, it's like people didn't talk that way even 40 years ago in the 80s. You would have to look very hard to find even neurologists. I think Burton Russell, the atheist philosopher in Why I'm Not a Christian, said he didn't believe in free will but most scientists didn't say that, or even atheists. Free will became a huge issue around the start of the new atheists with Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett, and for some in the Christian community, it was R.C. Sproul and the New Calvinism. What's really weird is that most Christians, evangelicals, were raised what they call kind of like a Billy Graham stuff. God loves everybody, wants everyone to choose him out of their free will, and loves everyone, wants us to choose him. And suddenly in the last, I'd say 15 to 20 years, there's this jump in Calvinism, which tries to say it's all sovereign, it's all provident, and stripping people away of their free. It's like Calvinism is like a brand new religion in the Bible that you've never seen before. If you've heard of Calvinism, but you're not sure, but you just hear once saved, always saved, but you don't even, if you don't study it, what tulip means, I would suggest you take 20 minutes, half an hour, and realize Calvinism was the official religion, the official Christian interpretation of the religion until, the stuff that we now believe, or were raised to believe, Billy Graham stuff, God loves everybody, and that was viewed almost heretically. It wasn't until William Drummond, 100 and some odd years ago, and the Wesleys and Methodism started God loves everybody, but now it's weird. It's like this taking away people's free will, whether artificial intelligence, which is a bunch of bullshit anyway. I mean, every time the discussion comes up, it's an issue of rewording the definition of freedom. If you believe in free will, and most people do, most atheists do, most Christians do, most people do, it's common sense. We get angry at people on the news for doing something wrong and screwed up. We assume common sense that they shouldn't have done it, because we know, we project our experience. We know that we could have done bad things, but we chose not to. Every single person knows that. We know that they could have not done it. But we also know that under circumstances and situations, a person with drugs in their system, a person with even technology, what they're doing wirelessly, those things like a drug, LSD or some of these, can override your physical strength or your neurons in your brain. I mean, your soul is still there, but sometimes a physical cause like a drug can override. You want to stay awake to do a test. You want to stay awake to do some work, but then you took a one or two pills too many of nighttime, or and you fell asleep. So what is it? My spirit's willing, but my flesh is weak, I guess. Shit like that. Anyway, I go off these little tangents there. A good book, The Invisible Crime by Michael Bell. He was 2014, 2015, I forget, maybe 2017. 2017. He's got two books. This is part 2. He's got part 1. He doesn't have V2K, but he's got the other super soldier weird stuff. A good book on setting religious OCD. So if you have the scripts of religion, if you have constantly thinking about religious, and you might have religious OCD. OCD, they think, is a part of the brain, the basal ganglia. It's like a hiccup. It's where you constantly are thinking about religion, or a doubt or a question. Did I do this right? Did I do this the right way? I mean, constantly. It's kind of like wondering, did I leave the iron on? Even though rationally you kind of know or think, yeah, I unplugged it. But if you're constantly bothered by it, you might have, it's a part of the basal ganglia. It's like a hiccup. Most people have a thought. It comes through and it goes through, no problem. They might worry a little, but they just move on to something else. People with OCD, it keeps on hitting that area of the brain. Like, that's how they interpret it. And it's like a hiccup. It just keeps on looping. And that's how I think Duncan describes this repetitive script, that it keeps looping the same thought, the same fear of, and they use it. And if they put religious scripts in V2K, I think, here's what I think with my college was Bible college, so it's not going to be, scientifically advanced. But I literally think that they can do this to people for years. And it's so subliminal. If you have V2K, voice to skull, I think it's just voice to kill, because that's what the K is probably for. I don't know why the K is supposed to mean. It doesn't mean skull in Germany or something. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I think they just take the knobs of whatever chip or whatever thing they did install during a surgery, and I think they turn the knob a little bit up and then make it more audible. It's like Medusa, Navy's Medusa program, using using USA, like Medusa, something using silent, something med, using silent audio. I forgot the med part of it. Medusa. Anyway, I think they use these subliminal, very barely thought patterns, or that they can whisper almost like into your part of your brain, to your subconscious, almost like subliminal. But if you're sleeping and they start doing it subliminally, and to the point that it's hard to, is it mine or is it them? But if they're doing this to you over years, because they've got trillions of dollars in money that they're just experimenting on people like you and me. But if you're still alive after 20 or 30 years, then suddenly they raise the volume to make it V2K. And now it's more audible, even though your neighbor sitting next to you can't hear it. It's there. And that's what they're using it. I think I've seen during Havana syndrome, I saw one report on CNN. I think it was Frederico Whitfield, I believe, talking about it and saying there was one time where they said, I understand it's not just chirping, but that they hear voices and there's a message. They hear actual voices, and in the voices there's a message that they hear for Havana syndrome. And I thought, oh shit, there it is. But I noticed none of the other channels. CNN did that once. Fox News didn't have that at all. And it's funny because I think to Fox's credit, they had Jennifer Griffith. She showed the patents to the technologies. They showed pictures of what these machines look like, the big models, not the little suitcase, whatever, the smaller in a van type thing. But they showed the older big pictures, and they interviewed people who I think wrote some textbooks on it. about the Havana syndrome, microwave pulse radiation weapons. And so it's like, I don't know if, anyway. So they know it's there. They know it's out there. Jennifer Griffith on Fox showed the patents. And then on Fox, they had another one with Adam, who was the first diplomat, CIA guy that came down with Havana syndrome. And he says it's laughable, that's his word, that people try to act like it's not there, doesn't. I mean, we know it exists. We know we have patents for the technology. We know it. It's laughable for anybody to ignore this. And I think on Breaking Points, they just had a thing like, well, the Congress, everybody in Congress, Republican and Democrat, and that never happens. But everybody agreed people of Havana syndrome should get money, $36 million. That's what it said on Breaking Points. And I don't know why that specific amount, but that's what they said. Everybody's Republicans, Democrat, every independent across the board, they all agreed it should. $36 million. And that's what they did. They said it. Of course, you and I, we haven't seen it. I guess they're waiting on, Of course, Havana syndrome, I'm not going to say, it may very well be that they got it, that the FBI, I don't know. But I do know our government can use it as an alibi, that it could have been set up as an alibi to blame other countries because it got out of hand. Like the horse left the barn, as that Shaheen lady said. Sorry there, Katie, Herbert and Katie. I was kind of like yapping. Pets, they are some sick. Yeah, they damn right are. They're sick people. Anyway, this is a good book also, Scrupulosity by for the Catholic, Thomas Santa. Now this Scrupulosity, OCD, if you have these scripts, this can happen to people of any religion, whether it's just OCD and they can hit that, through microwave radiation weapons, they can wireless technology hit that basal ganglia, and whatever you as a human being, your beliefs are, whether it's aliens, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Christianity or Islam, whether Jehovah's Witness, Catholic, Protestant, Mormon, they will use your beliefs. They can use Enoch and the Watchers. They can use, that was what Robert Duncan talked about, using the Watchers. And a lot of the religious scripts will use that stuff to see how you react, what gets you. Now, in my case, because a lot of my heart area feels almost necrotic. The cool thing is I went 30, that's not cool. It's horrible. But I went 7 or 8 times for no reason, out of the blue, that it just felt out of the blue, it just stopped, and it felt not my heart didn't stop, but it felt wonderful. The pain just stopped, and it just relaxed, and it felt wonderful, and the emotions came right back just within 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It just stopped. And that you're just thinking at the time, I didn't, the first few times I didn't know about TIs, V2K, any of this. I was just so thankful, Lord, just thank you. But then 5 hours later, it came right back. It came right back. And I just like, what the hell, like, Lord, do it again. I didn't, what the hell was it, And then, so it's like, well, maybe I'm stressed about theology, religion, apologetics. And I didn't know I was part of some experimentation with V2K, Havana syndrome, and they could read, on the brain computer interface that they're doing on us right now, looking somewhere at the fusion center and just looking at our brains and our vital signs and seeing what shows up on their monitor, even the imaginary stuff that isn't a memory of a historical event in your life. It's just something in your imagination that you can picture. I can hear it through V2K that they're saying, oh, he's thinking about Fred Flintstone eating spaghetti on a Sunday afternoon or something. And you can hear them say it. And that's as crazy as that is. That's how far advanced our government is in their technology, but they're not going to let CNN know that yet. They're not going to let 60 Minutes know that. They're going to say, oh, that's years down the road. Years down the road. We got to use this technology to fuck with people to get all the bells and whistles out and hope that nobody calls us on the carpet. The only thing is, the bioethics department has already had those conversations in 2011 under Barack Obama, in 2012. And two of the people, one of the main commission people was Anthony Fauci's wife, Dr. Christine Grady. She doesn't go by Fauci. The whole commission is set up because they know the government used to experiment on people and torture them. And so they're set up to make sure that doesn't happen again. The only thing is they know it's happening, and we're proof that they're still doing it. They're still doing it to us. So we got our day in court. Well, our day right there complaining about it to them. They know it's happening. This is a dream come true. We had it in their bioethics, in their department under Obama, and got to make our complaint. I wasn't there. I didn't, but TI's got to make their complaint to their people, and they still are doing it. And this is going to be I think they're going to want to keep this technology, but we need to expose it. Havana syndrome now can you imagine being a TI before Havana syndrome, explaining this to people? But thank God for Havana syndrome for us, because now everybody's heard of it. They're aware of it. Now it's almost like our government they tried to blame it on other countries, but okay, it's the horse is out of the barn. Let's make laws, help the people who need help, and wash your hands, because for that last 5-6 years, I don't know if they're trying to use that, and then the aliens, being declassified, and then the pandemic, and then the corruption in the FBI, and making it into some last day prophecy thing, making it sound like it's the last days. And we're, another thing is to make us, we're prophets. And, I'd love to be, when you're an evangelical, you want to be part of the last day group, because you want to see Jesus. Not that you want people to be suffering and like Noah's Ark, but it's just you want to be with God and see this magical, but in your imagination, it's the most wonderful waiting for Jesus to see in your actual lifetime, and to be part of something that you've been reading about your entire life, and to see it in front of you. You want that, but you really don't want the other side of that coin of other people, of other, being destroyed or demolished, or, like the idea of a Christian pilot flying an airplane and all those people, because you don't want, it's good for a good movie or a good story, but in real life, and they realize that our intelligence agencies, which is another name for the Illuminati, because it really is the Illuminati, nasty, naughty people. Illuminati, like to illuminate, is to bring light to, and that's the same like Lucifer is to bring light. That's the word they use, to bring light to something. Lucifer, like Lucifer, it's the same thing, like to illuminate. Anyway, I won't go into all that stuff. A great book. I go off on these weird tangents, don't I, guys? My V2K is like, we got to get this guy. They keep on saying he doesn't know, and then he knows. And then it's just like, this has got to stop. This has gone too long, and it's like, okay, he's done. And it's just and it's like, end it. This got to stop, and he's got to quit, and we know what quit means, so fuck him. But it's a weird thing, because when you have somebody constantly doing that to you, it's going to sound contradictory. You can get a little not Schadenfreude, Stockholm syndrome. where it's like, wow, somebody actually knows what I've been through my entire life. They know that I've tried my entire life. They know that I was a sincere person. And in my life, I've been nice to people, and I have no memories of me knowingly, intentionally fucking somebody over or screwing them, just hurting people. I didn't even swear in front of people, really, because in case they might be hypersensitive to that. So, but on a computer, evidently, FFF. My apologies. But they knew, and they can say, oh, wow, he really tried. And they still did it to me anyway. So anyway, I'm a little bit patting myself on the back and cussing at them at the same time. Tell them to fuck off. The Electronic Revolution and Federal Targeted Individual Program by John Phillips. What is that? Contributing Corporations and Federal Agencies in Idaho. That's another book. Of course, Project Soul Catcher. His story is he helped make the technology. They were all compartmentalized, so they, as scientists, they didn't know what it would be when they put all the parts together. They didn't know what the whole thing was. They just know they're working on some parts for this and some parts. So it's kind of like maybe it's to alleviate a conscience, or they literally didn't know all the details. But it's like people at the NSA. It's in Utah. 38 towns and cities were competing for it, but all these people in Utah are now spying on everybody. But 38 other towns were competing for the NSA job, for them to come to their town. So it's not just people in Utah. We got a lot of people who are capitalists who don't believe in the Constitution. They say they do to their neighbors and friends and people at church, but when it comes to a paycheck, they really don't care about your rights or my rights or your happiness or mine. In fact, we can be tortured as long as they get paid. They're okay with it. And they even go to church and say, hey, wasn't it great when we screwed that person, made them off themselves? And it's like, yeah, that was something. Bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. Anyway, and this is a classic, The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. Before the Bible, this was the most popular book in the history of Christianity. But if you read it, it's not like Joel Osteen stuff. It's a little bit masochistic. That's all I'll say. It's a little dark, but it's some parts are wonderful. But other times it's like you need to pick up the cross, and everything is hard, but Jesus is worth all of it. And, it's a very totalistic, all 100% about carrying a cross and being a disciple. And if you are that way, then it's like, yeah, this is the real stuff. But it's a little bit, it's real, it's serious. It's not this. There's a part of me that kind of thinks it's a good thing that we have the Robert Schuller and the Norman Vincent Peale, because sometimes people need just kind of something to take the stress off of trying to be obedient. So it's like, so you can cuss and not beat yourself over cussing or something. So anyway, my mom's going to be back pretty soon. So I just wanted to say hello and target individuals. I'll try to be more focused when I do my next video. Okay. Talk about heterodyning, even though I don't know. I've heard people describe it, but maybe you guys can think of something that we can talk about, and, So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later, okay? All right. This is Alan. I'll talk to you guys. Got my dentures in. All right. Bye, guys.